Debating in various forms has a long history, and it can be traced back to the philosophical and political debates in ancient Greece. Learning debate techniques can promote critical thinking, reflection, introspection, self-awareness, but unfortunately most people fall short of the mark. In today's video, I will share techniques, tips, and everything you need to know, all the basics, all the essentials, all the public speaking essentials that you need to know to improve in your arguments and debating skills. And of course, getting ahead of the game. So let's go. So for today's video, I've picked two speakers from a debate in Intelligence Squared, which is a media company that organizes live debates and events around the world, and in a traditional Oxford style. And what is the traditional Oxford style? Well, the term comes from Oxford Union Debating Society from the Oxford University. The Oxford style debate is a competitive style format featuring a sharply assigned motion that is proposed by one side and opposed by another. And a winner is declared in an Oxford-style debate by the majority of the audience. So here are the 10 commandments. 1. Preparation of your topic. 2. Stay on topic. 3. Speak slowly, clearly, and charismatically. 4. Be confident with your topic. 5. Think about your body language and what is your body language telling the audience. 6. Listen carefully and take notes. 7. Anticipate your opponent's questions before they uttered. 8. Tell a story or give an illustration with an example so the audience can picture that in their minds. 9. Use a strong conclusion. And 10. Don't take cheap shots at your opponent. Okay, so let's take a look now at this debate from Intelligence Squared, where two teams will argue for and against the motion. And the motion is, video games will make us smarter. And let's see if the speakers use the 10 commandments, any of the 10 commandments techniques.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to argue today for something I'm very passionate about, which is the power of video games for good. And I want to start with a personal story. Actually, you helped me by setting up the Peacemaker story. I came from Israel 12 years ago.
Okay, as Asi makes his way to the lectern, he portrays confidence, his body language is excellent, he's controlled and assured. He's also relaxed. He's relaxed enough to be expressive without being too over the top. By starting with a personal story, he's laying out his credentials and obvious expertise in a friendly and indirect manner, instead of just listing his qualifications, which could distance his audience.
Footage in the game, and it was a lot about different perspectives because you could actually play either side. It was also about our goal to generate empathy. The idea that if someone would play the other side, he would understand better the situation. The game made quite a splash because it was 2007. The perception around video games was even more negative than today. And it was before Facebook, before mobile games, the picture of the gamer in the basement eating pizza. And we made a game about peace, you know, that you could actually reach a peaceful solution. And we got a lot of coverage in the media, anywhere you can think of. We got a lot of community support and NGOs that embraced the game. And we had politicians that played it and lost in 5 minutes.
Asi also employs humor in his story when he speaks about the politicians playing his peace game and losing. This is a great way to keep the audience engaged and also a reassurance for the speaker that they are following him.
Which brings me to, from this story, to frame the debate as we, Daphne and I see it. This is not a debate that we want to do around all games makes us smarter. We are great believers in the power of design and the purpose. It's not that like the flyer that you see here each kid that is going to play Space Invaders is going to become Einstein. That's not our debate. We want to argue that video games are an incredible learning tool with tons of potential. This is what we're basically saying. I want to unpack the learning potential for a second. Number one, better understanding of complex issues and complex systems. This is what we did with Peacemaker at the time. Number two is make players, especially young players, better equipped for the 21st century playfield. And we're talking about 21st century skills, things like entrepreneurship, collaboration, problem solving, system thinking. Games are great in fostering some of those skills. Number three, making smarter decisions about our life. And here, Daphne and I will talk about things beyond education, because when you make smarter decisions about your life and health, you can actually prevent some medical conditions or fight some medical conditions, and maybe even live longer. We're not going to ignore risks. Daphne and I will be the first to admit that are risk, especially if you play video games in excess, but we want to also talk about ways to address it. You know, we don't want to ignore it. We want to, find better ways to deal with it.
After concluding his story, Asi moves on to, in his own words, frame the debate.
Which brings me to, from this story, to frame the debate as we...
He highlights the three key points his team will be identifying, debating, and proving. He also backs up these points with brief examples so that the audience is completely clear of his intentions. The rule of three is very important in public speaking. The rule of three is a very general principle that states that ideas presented in threes are inherently more interesting, more enjoyable, and more memorable.
In summary, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to vote yes for this motion. I want you to vote yes, that games are a great learning tool with tons of potential. In that sense, they have the potential to make us smarter. Thank you.
Thank you, Asi Barak.
The only minor flaw in an otherwise faultless presentation is right at the end, where, on summarizing his arguments, he has to check his notes a few times. This interrupts a little bit the flow of the presentation and detracts a little bit from his closing statement. This is something that I've seen numerous times in storytelling presentations, where we narrate our personal stories with ease because it's our own personal story and we know everything about it. But when we conclude, we tend to panic as we are no longer fully in control of the presentation. So in our story, we are 100% sure of the facts, but now we are opening up our story or ideas to the judgment of others. So our way to overcome this is by practicing a lot your conclusion as part of your story.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elias Abujade.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's hard to talk about the psychological damages from technology without sounding seriously behind the times. After all, when TV first came around, people thought it would spell the end of civilization. Even before TV, when movies, the radio, novels in the 18th century first happened, there were naysayers who predicted worst possible scenario outcomes. But I do think that the internet and related technologies are different. Video games talk back to you. They reward you, they punish you. They're much more lifelike, especially if you consider something like virtual reality. And for that reason, they're easier to confuse with life itself and easier to get lost in and hooked on than some older technologies, perhaps.
Elias starts his presentation with a clear voice and good eye contact. However, with his arms wrapped around his body. In the body language community, there is a lot of debate about the meaning of this. So it really depends on the context. If it is he's being closed or insecure, or if it's just a self-hug, you have to really analyze and understand as he proceeds. But he will revisit this position several times throughout his presentation, and sometimes accompanied by this with a sway at the hips, especially when talking about third-party data, which he personally has had no control over. This may be a way for him to cope with an obsessive control issue. Either way, it only lasts a moment before he settles into his eloquent delivery.
Now, there are many definitions for intelligence, the topic of our debate tonight, but I think we can all agree that intimately linked to technology, to intelligence, intimately linked to cognition, are activities and functions such as attention, reading, writing, memory, and in all these spheres, technology has had an impact that's not necessarily positive. When it comes to attention, there are higher rates of attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder being diagnosed, and a corollary to that is a huge increase in the number of prescriptions for stimulants that are being given by psychiatrists and mental health professionals. And people have connected that to the pervasiveness of some of the digital technologies that we're talking about.
Unlike Asi, Elias is not presenting in a storytelling way. Instead, he assigns his own role as the protagonist, posing open-ended questions for the defense team to address. We call this laying traps, as in order for the defense team to convey a strong argument, they are going to have to address each of these questions. Leaving even one unanswered will leave a blemish on their whole argument and create doubt. Now, what I love about Elias' presentation is the good use of hand gestures, which mirror his vocals enforcing his point of view and the statements.
I work with medical students who constantly ask me, without any hint of irony, why is it that they have to memorize anything anymore when whatever nugget of information they're after, a treatment algorithm, a complicated medication name, dosage range, it's never further away than a click of a button on their cell phone. So whether it's attention, memory, writing, reading, all these things have been transformed, which is why when a statement such as the one we're debating tonight, that video games are actually making us more intelligent, for us to support a statement like that, given this larger cognitive atmosphere and environment that we're functioning in, for us to support a statement like that, the quality of the research has to be beyond reproach. Because for that reason, I urge you to vote no on the motion. I also urge you to consider the opportunity cost, the activities that we are not spending time on as we spend hours upon hours playing video games. And ask yourselves whether these activities are not also important for our intelligence and for being well-rounded, well-grounded human beings. I urge you to vote no on the motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elias Abujade.
Towards the end of his presentation, he has a couple of moments where he trips over his words and has what I like to call a brain freeze. This is very normal, and we saw something similar with the end of Asi's presentation as well. It's almost as if the speakers are trying to get to the finish line as soon as possible, and that's when little mistakes can occur.
So let's recap the 10 debate commandments. Number 1, prepare your topic. Preparation, preparation, preparation. Preparation, 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 preparation. Always prepared. This whole thing about people saying, oh, I just go there and I improvise. No, you need to prepare. You need to be prepared to everything in life. You cannot just go and improvise. Yeah, sometimes maybe it will work, but not all the time. And if you are prepared, you will feel more confident and you feel like you can really give some value to the audience. Because remember, you're going there to give to the audience, not to take from the audience. People that go to stages with the idea of taking applauses and just boosting their ego, they don't really make great arguments. They don't really make great speeches. The people that make the best speeches, they are usually the ones that go to give something to the audience. So keep this in mind, prepare your material. That will give you confidence and it will make you more believable. Number 2, stay on topic. Usually in debates or in speeches, you have a limited amount of time. So it is very important to stick to that time and make sure you accomplish, because you don't want it to be too short or too long, right? So make sure you stay on topic. Don't go crazy off topic, losing the precious time that you have to speak to the audience, to reach out to their minds and hearts and souls. So make sure you use your time wisely. Remember to use the rule of 3 technique, elaborating on them as time permits. Number 3, speak slowly, clearly and charismatically. Put some passion in your voice, some nice emotionality and expressiveness. It's so important that your voice carries some kind of charisma. Another thing that most people that are new to public speaking and debating, they will rush through their speech, trying to get out of that situation as quick as possible. Just calm down. I mean, don't speak too slowly, people, like you don't want them to fall asleep. So if you speak too fast, it's hard for the audience to follow you, to understand what you're saying, and to agree on your topics. Number 4, be confident with your message. You seem nervous when you're going on the stage. It's hard for people to look at you and believe that you know what you're talking about. So be confident with your message, and the audience will love you for it. Number 5, think about what your body is saying. Remember, you have to be in control of your body language. And your verbals and non-verbals, they have to be consistent. If what you're saying, if your body is contradicting what you're saying, people won't believe it. Then you will lose a lot of points in credibility as a speaker. So smile. Smile when you speak. It's so easy. You don't have to speak like that all the time. I'm saying it's so easy to be doing this. Use your facial expressions to show an authentic smile while you're speaking. People engage much more with people that are happy, about what they're saying, than if you are just too serious or too worried or too nervous. So relax, speak, smile while you're speaking. That's a great technique. Relax your body language. That's another great tip that I wanted to give you. Don't be tense. Don't be tense when you're speaking, trying to hold the podium and doing crazy things. Just relax. Be natural. Speak up like a normal conversation. I know it's hard, but you have to try different situations and see how it goes, especially now that everyone is on camera doing Zoom calls, Skype job interviews, all kinds of things. So the more you speak on camera, the more you speak with other people and you see how your body is reacting, it's important that you record yourself. Another important tip that I wanted to give you with regards to body language is like there are so many speakers, they start well, they are looking at the audience, but then they change and they start looking at the floor while they're speaking. One thing is to look for a little bit here. I do that all the time. I'm always searching for the words, especially because English is not my mother tongue, it's not my native language. So for me, I'm always looking around, looking to search for that word. But I don't stay there. I don't stare at a certain point for too long, because then it just shows that you are not engaged, that you are distant somewhere. You got lost. So people sometimes they have to bring you back because you just disappear. So avoid looking at the ground or any other areas for too long, for a long space of time. Make sure if you are searching for words, like I do most of the times with English, not being my first language, I go there, I search in that little part, I cannot find it, I'll go there, and then I go back to them, I go back to you, and then you just continue the conversation. And remember also to watch your audience's body language, because they tell you a lot if your speech is going well or not, depending how they're looking. Okay, don't stare at one person and believe that person is the responsible. Maybe you get someone in a bad mood and you think that everything is going really bad for you. Just make sure you look like an overall, see how people are reacting. If you see a lot of people sleeping, maybe you need to speed up, put some jokes, clap, do something to wake them up. So make sure to pay attention to the general response, not only focusing on one person in the audience that day maybe is having a bad day, and that can reflect on you. Usually try to pick someone that is smiling back at you if you wanted to keep looking back and searching for that smile to give you confidence. And make sure to look at the overall energy, how people are reacting to what you're saying. That's very important, and that will give you clues to maybe continue on that path or maybe change strategy and engage them in a different way. Number 6, listen to your opponent's arguments. It's critical. It's very important that you take notes. Now, don't try to take notes on everything. Just jot down some lines and some main keywords of what the opponent is saying that caught your attention. And also take notes in the weaknesses of their logic that can be rebutted. That's a good strategy when debating. Go for it. Number 7, anticipate your opponent's questions before they come. This is particularly a good technique if you are in a competition at school or in a competition, in a debate competition somewhere. So you wanted to make sure you anticipate the judges and the audiences as well. So just stay focused. Number 8, tell a story. The power of stories. Make sure you put some images in your audience's minds so they can take a journey with you and travel and see what's happening into your story. If you cannot tell a story, if you're not a good storyteller, illustrate with some good examples. As they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Paint a picture in your audience's mind and they will love you for that. 9, use a strong conclusion. You wanted to focus really in the beginning and the conclusion, the end, and that's where most people fall short. When it goes to the end, sometimes they start really great, really powerful, and then they tell their story with nice storytelling techniques or different techniques, wonderful, and then it goes to the conclusion and it goes, and then they say, okay, and that's it. Have nothing else. Thank you. And oh no, it was brilliant until that point. So make sure the conclusion is something that you put a lot of thought in. You make sure you create something unique to close, to have a memorable closing where people say, wow, do you remember that person? If you have a conclusion that it brings confidence to the table, even if your middle part or your beginning wasn't that great, a lot can be forgiven as long as you stated your points and closed in a nice way. So remember, your conclusion of your debate or your speech or your conversation has to have an impact, has to be clear and bring a good closing. And the last one, number 10, don't take cheap shots at your opponent. Avoid taking cheap shots at your opponents because the audience will only see you as an arrogant person and someone that doesn't care about the other person. And remember, the other person may have valid points, which maybe can be someone that you will have a great conversation in the future about different topics. So don't insult their intelligence. Be respectful and be gracious to your opponents. Even if they are rude to you, you stay calm and make sure you maintain that level of confidence and smile. So if you wanted to learn more about public speaking, body language, voice techniques, debating techniques, everything that is around a good communication, everything that is around learning how to express your ideas and have a better conversation, just go to the next video and I see you there. Ciao, ciao.